first thing I'm going to do is to create a new artboard, and then click the plus sign. So next up, I'm going to rename my artboard. So I'm going to rename this as artboard 1. Design 1, and the other one as design 2. Alright, so next up I'm going to bring in my assets. So I'm going to start with the backgrounds, and then I'm going to expand this to fill up the canvas. So next up I'm going to add some blur effect to this. So what I need to do is to come to where I have filter and go to blur and Gaussian blur. So you can use whatever setting for the blur that suits you, but I'm going to leave mine at 54. Click OK. So I'm going to bring in my other background, which is this, drag it into my Photoshop work area, and then I'm going to desaturate this image by pressing Ctrl Shift U, or I can also go to my hue and adjustment layer right here, and I click hue and saturation. So I'm going to take out the saturation on this image like this, and then I'm going to just clip it to the exact image so that it doesn't affect other layers. So I'm going to right click and select create clipping mask. So what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to blend these images, okay, the one I added and the previous one. So I'll go to my blending options right here. So I'm going to choose let me go for lighting. So most times what I do is I usually go for the lighting or the screen option. I think that works best for me. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to reduce the opacity right here. Just drag it down. Okay, something like this is perfect. And then I'm going to slightly brush off the edges of this image. So what I need to do is to come to right here where I have the, I'm going to first of all select the image and then come to where I have this create a new mask option. Then I'm going to go to my brush tool, press the letter B on the keyboard, and then slowly brush off the image rather. You can either increase or reduce the size of the brush. So I'm going to group all these items, select all, then Ctrl G to group, and I'm going to rename this quite as the background. Alright, so our next step is to bring in the image of the client, which is this. I'm going to drag it into my Photoshop, and then I'm going to slowly brush off the edges of this image. So I'm going to repeat the same process I did earlier. I'm going to click the image, then create a new mask. Click this, take my brush tip by pressing the letter B on the keyboard, ensure that your foreground color right here is set to black, and then just slowly brush off the edges of the image, something like this. Okay, so now I think I mistakenly took out more than I wanted, so what I need to do is to revert the color options, and then I can brush, okay, something like this. Alright, so I'm going to rename this as, I'm going to group it and rename it as client image. So next up I'm going to bring in the logo of the church or organization. Just drag it into my Photoshop, and then I'll resize. Alright, so next up I'm going to start adding my text. So I'm going to go to the resources again, the document folder, the text document. I'm going to copy this, just copy the, okay, then I take my text tool, Ctrl V to paste, take this up here. Now, so if you look at this other design, you see that the characters are spaced out. So I'm going to apply that effect to this other one. So what I need to do right here is to come to the character panel right here, and then increase the tracking. So I can just put a random figure, let me say 300, enter. Okay, let me take it further, I can just say 400, or make maybe even 500, something really big. Alright, so I can now resize it. So if you're finding this video useful, please like the video and share it with other designers so that they can learn one or two things as well. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell as well. So I'm going to group this and I'm going to call it let me call it header. Now of course you can also increase the tracking on this, on whatever text you want to, but I choose to just leave it the way it is. Alright, so I'm going to take my text once again and add the caption. So take my text to T and V to paste. Let me change this font to, I want a Montserrat. Let me go for a Montserrat. Let me go for a Montserrat bold. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to enlarge this and then duplicate it. Hold the Alt key, click and drag it. I'm going to duplicate it again. Then change this to me. Yes. So next up, I'm going to ensure it's all aligned. Select all of them, and I come to my alignment tool right here, ensure it's properly aligned. Good. And it's centralized as well. Alright, so they're good. Once again, let me select them and then enlarge it. Okay, let me change this text. Let me change this to, okay, just a second, deliver me. Uppercase. Alright, perfect. So what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to start applying. If you look at this text, you see here that there's some effect on this text. So that's what I'm going to do next. So please stick around and don't skip any part of this video. So first of all, I'm going to select all of them as I usually do. Ctrl G to group, and I'm going to call this caption. Of course, you can use any notation of your choice. And then I'm going to duplicate it by pressing Ctrl J and then turn off one of the layers. So next up, I'm going to convert to a smart object. First of all, right click and go to convert to smart object, and then I'm going to right click again and I'm going to rasterize layer. Alright, so next up, I'm going to bring in another image. Now the links to these resources are in my Telegram channel. I'll leave a link to that in the comment section. So what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to clip this image to my text. So I'm going to right click right here once again, right click, and I go to create clipping mask. So next up, I'm going to apply some effect on this text. So what I need to do is to right click and then go to blending options, and I'm going to add some bevel to this. Okay, you can also add, I need to add some stroke. No, I don't need stroke on this. Add some texture if I want to. Then you can also increase the depth. Just play around this and see what works for you. You can also increase the size. Alright. And you can also change the effect of the bevel. You have different options. So just play around it and see what works for you. So what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to first of all select all of this, Ctrl G to group them, let's call it main caption, and then I'm going to convert once again to a smart object. Let me group them again. Now I'm going to press Ctrl T to transform, and then I'm going to hold my shift key and I'm going to click skew. Alright, so what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to bring in the dates which you're seeing right here. So I'm going to bring in this ripped paper background, drag it into Photoshop, hit enter, and then I'm going to resize it. So I'm going to take my text to once again to add the date. I'm going to copy all these, Ctrl C to copy, take my text by pressing T on the keyboard, Ctrl V, and I'm going to paste it. So I'm going to change this to black. I'm going to change the color of the text to black. And I'm going to resize it so it fits into the ripped paper background. Now I'm going to increase the leading. I think the text are a bit jam-packed, so I'm going to go to my character panel right here, and I'm going to go to where I have this. I'm going to change this to, let me say, an 8. Let's see how that pans out. Okay, I think this is cool. An 8 is cool. Now what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to group it once again. Hold the text and the ripped paper background, Ctrl G to group. Right, I'm going to call this dates. Now what I'm going to do is, once again, I'm going to convert to a smart object, and then I'm going to click, press Ctrl T to transform, right click and select skew. And I'm going to once again adjust, take this up a bit and hit enter, and then adjust it so it fits exactly into that space. Alright, so next up I'm going to add the name of the host. Okay, I don't want this video to be too long, so what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to duplicate the one I did before on the other design. So I'm going to click this and Ctrl J to duplicate, and then I'm going to drag it into the other artboard like this. Okay, duplicate it. Yeah, so it has appeared. All right, so this is it. So next up I'm going to add the social media details, which the social media icon. Let me bring that into my Photoshop workspace. Once again, I'll leave the links to these resources in my Telegram channel, so do well to subscribe to my Telegram channel for free, for a lot of freebies and downloads. All right, and then in order to save time, I'll just hold my Alt key, click and drag to duplicate this, and I bring it in like so. So I'm going to group this, and I'm going to call it Ctrl G to group, and I call it social media. So that's pretty much it. Our flyer is ready.